Greetings. During the Great Patriotic War, there were many heroes whose exploits, unfortunately, are not known to everyone. Their valor and courage must not be forgotten, and we are obliged to remember the fearless acts they committed with incredible bravery, both on the front lines and in the enemy's rear. These people sacrificed themselves for the sake of common victory, and their selflessness is an example for us all. We have no right to forget their exploits because it is thanks to them that we can live in peace and freedom. To remember and honor their memory is our duty to history and future generations. One such hero was soldier and boxer Andrei Mikhailovich Borzenko. Having found himself in the Buchenwald concentration camp, this man showed amazing fortitude, achieving victories over the enemy in the camp's ring. His resilience and steadfastness inspired other prisoners, and his victories gave them hope for liberation. Borzenko became a symbol of resistance under conditions of severe lack of freedom, showing that even in the most difficult circumstances, it is possible to preserve human dignity and willpower. His example is proof that the human spirit cannot be broken, even when the body is imprisoned. This story became known thanks to the work of Georgy Ivanovich Sviridov, Ring Behind Barbed Wire. This famous Soviet writer once headed the Boxing Federation of the USSR, so he was very familiar with all the nuances of this difficult sport. He perfectly understood what efforts and self-sacrifice were required from athletes, and was able to convey this in his work. Sviridov created a vivid and memorable image of a hero capable of incredible exploits, and his book became an important reminder of the tragic events of the war. His professionalism and deep knowledge of boxing helped him create an authentic and emotional story that will not leave anyone indifferent. The main character of this novel ended up in a concentration camp and participated in boxing matches against German soldiers. The prototype of this character was the master of sports of the USSR, winner of the Union Championship among the Southern Republics in heavyweight in 1939, Andrei Mikhailovich Borzenko. This athlete proved himself not only as a talented boxer, but also as a person with an unbending will and courage. His story became an example for many, proving that even in the most difficult situations, you can find the strength to fight and win. Borzenko, despite all the difficulties, remained true to his ideals and principles. How did this happen? In 1941, during fierce battles on the banks of the Dnieper, German soldiers captured the wounded Andrei Borzenko. The Soviet soldier ended up in the Buchenwald concentration camp. This place was known for its cruel conditions of detention and inhumane treatment of prisoners. Once there, Borzenko faced incredible difficulties, but this did not break his spirit. He became an example of steadfastness and courage for other camp prisoners, showing them that even in hell you can remain human. His fate is an illustration of how strong a human will to life and freedom can be. Mockery of emaciated Soviet prisoners, knowing that they could not resist, became entertainment for the guards. But one day, one of the guards received a harsh and professional rebuff. Borzenko reflexively knocked the offender out with one blow. This moment became a turning point in his stay in the camp. He showed his strength and skill, which attracted the attention of the administration. Thus, from a victim, he became a fighter capable of rebuffing his oppressors. Please subscribe to my channel and leave a like so you can hear many more exciting stories about World War II and learn the opinions of all its participants on various events. Your interest and support help us continue this work and share important historical facts with you. One of the German camp leaders witnessed this scene. He immediately realized that this prisoner of war was a trained fighter who skillfully mastered boxing skills. Boxing matches were regularly held in the concentration camp, in which both prisoners and employees participated. These fights were not only entertainment for the guards, but also a way to suppress the prisoners. However, for Borzenko, this became an opportunity to show his fighting spirit and give hope to other prisoners. His participation in these fights showed his strength and resilience, which could not but arouse respect even among his enemies. Andrei was not killed, but was released into the ring to watch the fights. The fighter defeated German opponents one after another, winning victories in more than 80 fights, which the camp authorities did not like at all. His success in the ring not only boosted the morale of the prisoners, but also caused discontent among German officers, who could not allow a Soviet prisoner to be stronger than their soldiers. Borzenko became a real problem for the camp administration, and they decided to take measures to stop him. His invincibility became a symbol of resistance, and this could not go unnoticed. It was decided to organize a fight for Borzenko with the SS heavyweight champion named Willy. The Germans gave their boxer a clear task: to destroy the Soviet fighter. This fight was conceived as a show trial to break the spirit of the prisoners. However, they underestimated the strength and courage of Borzenko, who was ready to fight to the end. This fight was supposed to be decisive and show who was stronger, the Soviet fighter or the German champion. The entire leadership of Buchenwald gathered for this fight, and places were also allocated for the prisoners. They carefully prepared for this event. The prisoners secretly collected scraps of food for Andrei, so that he would feel more cheerful. This act of solidarity and support showed how much the prisoners believed in Borzenko and his victory. They did everything they could to help him in this difficult fight, and their support gave him strength and confidence. This moment became evidence that even in camp conditions, people are capable of mercy and compassion. How did the fight go? The experienced Soviet boxer analyzed the tactics of the German boxers and understood that the SS champion would immediately attack. Intending to break him at the beginning of the fight, Borzenko was aware that his opponent was much stronger, heavier, and more enduring than him. So he decided to conduct the fight in defense in order to wear down his opponent. He understood that he could not win a direct power fight, and therefore developed tactics that allowed him to conserve his strength and wear down his more powerful opponent. This showed not only his boxing skills, but also his ability to think strategically. First round. And indeed, already in the first round, Willy unleashed a flurry of blows on Andrei, most of which passed by or got stuck in the deep defense of the Soviet boxer. Borzenko hardly threw any punches, trying to move more on his feet and parry the enemy's attacks. He focused on defense, skillfully dodging and blocking punches to save strength and not give in a provocation. This was a waiting tactic that was to pay off later. Second round. In the second round, the situation remained the same. The German boxer went forward, wasting his strength and continuing to accumulate even more rage within him. The Soviet boxer defended himself, saving his strength, and responded with accurate single blows to further anger his opponent. He played on Willy's emotions, causing him to lose control and make mistakes. This was the move of a true master, who not only knew how to box, but also understood the psychology of the fight. Third round. By the third round, the zeal of the German champion had subsided, while his opponent continued to defend himself, occasionally counterattacking with accurate strikes. The German began to despair. Rage took over reason. He understood that his power attacks were not bringing results and began to lose concentration. Borzenko remained calm and collected, waiting for his moment. Fourth round. Borzenko had a clear plan: to save strength, to unbalance his opponent so that he would get tired and make mistakes in a fit of rage. In the fourth 3-minute round, Willy became so enraged that he began to hit his opponent with his elbows, violating the rules. After receiving a warning, the weakened German boxer went berserk, forgot about defense, and openly rushed forward. He was completely exhausted and could no longer control his actions. Borzenko was waiting for just this moment. Slightly crouching, he straightened up sharply, putting all his remaining strength into the punch. The steel fist of the Soviet warrior shook the German chin, and a heavyweight fell to the ring floor. After several unsuccessful attempts to get up, the fight was stopped. This blow was decisive. It showed all the power and strength of the Soviet boxer, who was able to turn the tide of the fight and achieve victory. After this victory, the Soviet boxer was not killed or thrown into prison. Yes, the Germans were not thrilled with the outcome of the fight, but they treated the Soviet champion with a degree of respect and did not dare to use repression against him just because he was a master of his craft and had won in a fair fight. This shows that even in conditions of war and cruelty, enemies could recognize the strength and courage of their opponent. Borzenko's victory became a symbol that justice and truth can triumph even in the darkest circumstances. What was the life of the athlete like after the war? The Red Army and its allies were pushing the Germans back on all fronts. The Germans fled Buchenwald, after which the Third American Army entered there. U.S. soldiers freed the prisoners for Andre and other prisoners. This was a long-awaited moment of freedom. He had survived terrible ordeals, but his spirit remained unshaken. His liberation was the beginning of a new life, free from the horrors of war. A year after the war, Andre was demobilized and returned to his native Tashkent, where his mother, father, and sister were alive. The Soviet champion entered a medical institute, choosing the profession of surgeon, and then married. He decided to devote his life to saving people, using his knowledge and experience to help others. His choice of profession was inspired by his experiences and a desire to help those in need of medical care. Andrei Mihailovich worked as a surgeon in a city polyclinic until his retirement. He performed many operations, saving people's lives. He was one of the first doctors in Tashkent who was trained in heart transplantation in Moscow at the Sklifosovsky Medical Institute and performed more than 50 operations after that. His contribution to medicine is invaluable. He saved many lives and earned the respect of his colleagues and patients. He was not only an outstanding athlete, but also a brilliant doctor. Poverty after the collapse of the USSR. After the once great power collapsed, life in Uzbekistan became impossible. The new leaders had other personnel interests, which led to the fact that a veteran who had fought against the enemy was forced to sell his apartment for a pittance and become homeless in his own country. This was a tragic consequence of the collapse of the country, which affected many veterans who had given their strength and health for the good of the motherland. Borzenko's fate became a symbol of injustice towards those who fought for freedom and independence. Andrei Mihailovich moved to St. Petersburg, but he was not hired because he had neither citizenship nor a residence permit. The great fighter, war hero, veteran, famous surgeon, who once worked as the chief physician of a large hospital, moved to Zelenogorsk, where he lived as a refugee and was forced to collect beer cans. Since his meager pension was not enough to survive, he found himself in a difficult situation, deprived of his livelihood. Despite his merits and achievements, this was a tragedy for a man who had gone through the hell of war and saved many lives, but was abandoned to his fate. This is how the life of this great man ended. Unfortunately, I could not find a photo of him. Borzenko died in 1992. Eternal glory and memory to this Soviet hero, athlete and soldier. His exploits and contribution to history will never be forgotten. He will remain an example of courage, steadfastness, and heroism for all future generations. Goodbye. I was glad to see you on my channel. Don't forget to leave comments, like, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for your attention and interest in history.